Woohoo! We made it just on time. No, we totally weren't scrambling behind the scenes just to get here. No, perfect. You're muted, Rachel, but you sound amazing. And I like what you've done with your wall.
I know. I finally decorated. Finally, I'm fully moved in, I can say now.
You moved in. How many months later?
Yeah, I was just saying it's all your fault.
Well, this is what happens when you unpack the wine first.
I have
No reaction to that. Just stunned silence. Hello, everybody. George, so the weather is sunny in Middle England. This is important because I will be in England this time next week. So it looks like the weather is basically going to be the same as it is here at home. So I'm pretty well prepared for that. Welcome from Chile, Wisconsin, home of the cheese. Looks like Jacob is in Hawaii, Hawaii. That's the abbreviation, in case you didn't know, which is also where Maui is. What? Amazing. Well, hello, everybody. I am David Ortinau, product manager on .NET MAUI, and my partner in crime today and always,
Rachel, also on the .NET team as a product manager.
Yay. Oh, let's see. Let's say hi to more people in the chat. Germany, George. Nice. Alexandre Santos Costa.
Hello.
From Brazil.
Good seeing you. It's been a minute.
More Wisconsin? Or just want to talk about beer, cheese, and Harleys? Nice. Yeah, so we went to go, I went to go start the live stream studio, and I could not find the link. And usually it's listed at the bottom part of the page. And I saw this little button in the middle of the page that says load more. And I was like, that's not us because we're not one of those. We're one of the others. Yeah, it turns out that's what I needed to do all along, but moments before. But I've got everything set up now. I've got my Mac, got my Windows machine. I've got my demo. I didn't reset my demo, but we'll do that. We're gonna wing the demo. What good is preparing a demo polished up ahead of time? It's more like a live coding. This is going to be a live coding day.
Oh, very exciting.
Very exciting. What is your pennant? I can't read the pennant.
Oh, that's Ethan's. It's Georgetown.
Yeah. Hi, Ethan.
Not here.
So there has been, we're here in March, right? So last month, a little bit later in the month, I think, than usual, we shipped .NET 10 Preview 1. Silent applause. Silent applause. Is there an applause? I don't know. I shouldn't start messing with the bells and whistles. I get in trouble. I'll fold my arms. And that went smooth. Went well. There wasn't a lot in it for .NET MAUI per se. The big win was it builds and runs. You know, that's like table stakes, and you're like, oh, that shouldn't it always? Well, yes, but when you're getting all the new things set up and all the new pipelines and everything, it takes a bit. Preview 2, I've been going over the release notes because it's scheduled to come out imminently. And so this is where I get to learn what all is in it. You know, some things are planned, but, you know, when it comes to community PRs and things like that, you don't always know what's going to make it into the release. And we've got some good stuff. Preview 2 is it's got some stuff. So I'm excited about that. So be on the lookout for Preview 2 coming imminently. But the community is not at rest. The community, y'all have been busy blogging and YouTubing and doing cool stuff. You know, there's so much stuff happening now. I would say, Rachel, you tell me if you feel like it's this way. When they talk about, you know, drinking from the fire hose, when you're like first learning something or your first, you know, you got a new job, you got a new responsibility or whatever. I feel like in this current age of Copilot shipping stuff and AI companies shipping new models and new capabilities, in addition to what dotnet is doing, and Maui's doing, and the community is doing, I feel like I'm going to lose my eyebrows or something. The fire hose is going to blow my beard off.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know earlier today even you were like, is this actually new or is it just new to me? So there's definitely been a lot of that.
Yeah, I was going over some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about some Copilot agent. We're going to talk about instructions. We're going to talk about prompt instructions, some things that you may not have ever seen or knew about. And guess what? You're not that late to the party, because as we went and looked, some of these things were only released like a week and a half ago. And so they are new. But it's interesting because I see some of these things and I'm like, this is what I've been asking for months and months. Why didn't so and so tell me about it? And it turns out so and so didn't know about it because it didn't exist. So I can't get too mad about that. But very exciting. Well, why don't you take over
Sure.
and let's go through and see what cool things the community has been doing.
Yeah.
Videos, blogs, and bumping up fonts because I can't read that. Come on. 50 years old, Rachel. I can't read it.
Okay. How's that?
That's yeah. Whoa, whoa.
What?
No, not my parents.
I think this is fine.
Go
All
for
right.
it.
Well, .NET 10 Preview 1, you just mentioned, came out a couple weeks ago. Last week? Last week. This was last week. March came so fast. I'm like so confused. But yeah, Preview 2 is about to come out, but still some exciting things to catch up on in Preview 1 for .NET MAUI. So check out all the things if you haven't already. Exciting that we're finally here. But also in .NET 9, we had a ton of performance features and improvements. And Jonathan Peppers on our team and Simon wrote this blog post on all of the performance things for you to check out and ways you can make your apps more performant, and tips and tricks for how you can profile your apps better as well. So this is a massive blog post. I mean, there's this huge table of contents here, but super, super awesome information, chock full of really useful stuff. You can see here how trimming can affect the size of your app. Also, we have things, insights on native AOT and how that also impacts your app size and your startup time, all the good stuff. And then I love this section at the end here about profiling your .NET MAUI apps and how you can use .NET Trace and other tools from .NET and otherwise to help you profile your apps on all of the different platforms. So definitely check it out. Lots of great information here.
Yeah. So one of the main reasons that we wanted to do this blog post, not only to celebrate and share the great work that has gone into this, but as we are working towards native AOT for all the platforms, the key thing is they need to be native AOT compatible. They need to be fully trimmable. And so if you are a library maintainer and or you really depend on a library and you know it's not fully trimmable, you're not going to be able to take advantage of native AOT. And the performance benefits, the app size benefits are significant. This is like compete level with other cross-platform frameworks, but it has a high cost, right? So we want to make sure that we've got good information like this out there so that you know as a library maintainer or you know as a developer what to tell your library maintainers, how to make their stuff fully native AOT compatible so that we can all benefit from them. This is the trend. This is where it's going. So you can't sleep on this. Definitely. Oh yeah, where's the URL list? I will share that as Rachel continues.
Come on, Dave, get with it.
It's here. It's here.
Yep. So definitely check out all the wonderful performance things. And then over in our .NET Customer Showcase, we have a new story that's been recently published on FinLocker, transforming home ownership with .NET MAUI and Azure. So you can read all about FinLocker's journey with using .NET MAUI and how they're the decision behind why they ended up choosing .NET MAUI and how that's worked for them in developing their application and helping their users navigate their homeownership journey. So definitely lots of cool stuff. I think I saw here they actually published over 40 applications using .NET MAUI, which is kind of wild. So they've definitely obviously been having a lot of success. So kudos to them and congrats on all 40 of their applications. That's incredible. And then over in our component vendor world, Leo Murray has another article on, this time on splash screens in .NET MAUI. So they walk us through how you add a splash screen to your MAUI project and the step-by-step on how to do that, but also taking time to explain what's actually going on behind the scenes. How does this splash screen work? So that's always nice to see. We saw in .NET Conf, Dave you had your demo on splash screens, and so it's awesome seeing the different ways in which people implement their splash screens, because there's a lot of different ways you can customize it and implement it. So awesome content. And then GrailKit continues to pop off on Twitter/X, showing all their cool features for .NET MAUI. And this is one that caught my eye on their messaging flow templates. They have these templates, beautiful for chat UI and contact management. So if that's something that you're interested in leveraging in your application, you can check out these templates from GrailKit and see if that's something that works for you. So as always, super awesome seeing all the things that are out there. And then, we have an ad from Verizon. This is not sponsored. And then, of course, we have James' face. So
why pause there? Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Yeah, I needed a better frame to stop on. But yeah, James has released a video on live preview and hot reload. So there have been some recent improvements in the latest previews of 17.13 and 17.14 for live preview, and it's now available to use at design time outside the debugger. So definitely check out the feature, check out the video, share with us how that experience works for you. Yeah, lots of great stuff. And of course, when we talk about James on YouTube, we also have our other favorite YouTuber, Gerald. So Gerald was at NDC London a while ago, and his talk has been uploaded online. So now you can check out his NDC London session as he goes through building an entire .NET MAUI app live for the NDC London conference. So by the end, you can see he has his application with the different speaker at the conference, and I don't know if I can find the frame quickly enough, the different sessions as well. Yeah, so check it out for more Gerald content. Can't get enough of our favorite influencers.
Has he resumed his YouTubing yet?
I don't know.
What's wrong with that guy?
But I mean,
I wonder why he was getting so much work done.
He's at the other conferences too, and they're uploading his content for him. So
he's everywhere.
Yeah. All right. Then over on LinkedIn, we have Andre Kramer talking about barcode scanning and how it's one of the many awesome things that you can check out in his book. So definitely check out his book, especially if you speak German, since it's in German, and you can learn about all the ways you can build things in .NET MAUI, like barcode scanning.
I got his first edition of that book because I told him that I studied German in high school.
You gotta brush up on your German then.
It's on my shelf. And I have perused it. I understand all the words that are basically transliterations from English.
Oh, amazing. Good job.
That's great. That's what makes listening to a tech talk in another language make sense. You feel like you understand the language because you understand words like Maui and view model and
Mm, yeah. And lucky for us, even if we don't understand German, we also have access to the GitHub repository with all of the samples. So that's still super useful for all of us, regardless of what language you speak, as long as you speak Maui.
as long as you speak Maui.
Yes.
I feel like that's a t-shirt. Do you speak Maui?
And then speaking of books, I see Alexander here is having a giveaway for his .NET MAUI cookbook book in print and also the ebook version, and it's still open right now. So definitely, if you want a free copy of his book, go find this post and enter the giveaway so you
I
can.
thought he was gonna. Is he giving away the book, or like isn't? If you scroll down to his picture, isn't he holding like a carved Maui bot on a
Whoa,
surfboard?
that's so cool. I totally missed that the first time.
I think we need one of those.
Yeah, I would love one of those, but I'm sorry. I think it's the book, which I know you already have.
I
So
do already have. I have the ebook version. I have the paper version.
amazing. But yeah, awesome stuff. And then I know next week, Dave, you're going to be in London, as you mentioned,
Yep.
for Maui Day, and Guy Barker is also going to be there. And if you want a sneak peek of what Guy's going to be talking about, he shared about the Maui apps that he's worked on with accessibility, like accessible solitaire. So lots of great content to look forward to for Maui Day. Wow, you're almost done with the book. Are you almost done with the book, Dave?
The great thing about the book is you don't have to read it cover to cover. You pick and
Yeah,
choose the recipe for what you want to cook up in your Maui app.
that's true. It's a great way of saying you're a slow reader too.
But this is why I love using AI as like dumb it all down for me, give me just the bits I need. Matter of fact, just go write the code for me.
Mhm. Yeah. Over on Twitter/X, we have Xiaoling also talking about barcode scanners in .NET MAUI, and they have a cool demo they shared online here of MAUI app that's scanning not one, but it seems like a bunch of QR codes at once. So super cool seeing the different ways you can maximize a single capability.
Everybody loves barcode scanning.
It is very cool. I remember the first time I saw someone build a barcode scanner in like a mobile app development class, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know I could do that in my
Yeah.
class."
I
So
feel like it's a canonical example of mobile,
it's cool.
some kind of multimodal interaction. But this is super cool from Drawing UI. I hadn't seen this.
Yeah. So Nick Kowalski tweeted about I was like Xed. I don't know what the new verb would be. Um,
Dot Morton has a Maui toolkit. Tell us more. Is this a new product you're working on? A whole new toolkit for Maui?
that's very cool. Please
I
let
would
us
use it.
know. Yeah. Um, what was I saying? Nick Kowalski sharing prototyping drawn tabs for .NET MAUI. This is super cool. Look how smooth that animation is.
Yeah, yeah. When you're drawing stuff, it can be super smooth.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm a fan. So love to see it. Love to see all the beautiful things y'all are creating. And for those of you who are still wrapping up your migrations and your upgrades to .NET MAUI, I saw here Key Ideas is offering their expert migration services. So if anyone out there is looking for that one last push and extra guidance you need, here's another service that you can check out. And then this has nothing to do with anything except if you were here last month, you know I was struggling with figuring out Blue Sky because I'm new to it.
Mm.
And I think I finally figured it out. I had to re-upload my profile image. I don't know why it kept making me and forcing me to do that, but we're here and now we're getting all the great content. I only followed like Maui people, but this popped up on my Discover page and it's so cute. It's already tailored to me, even though I don't follow any dog accounts, but I just
mean,
needed to see this.
put a dog in an outfit. Now, if it had been an Ewok outfit, then we know we really had been on target. But then you're like, what's an Ewok?
What?
So anybody else, I'm curious, are you using Blue Sky? Are you using X? Are you using LinkedIn? What are your preferred social platforms these days to make your voice heard or to get content? I'd be curious to know because I would say, frankly, for myself, I have not been on many of them for a while. I occasionally pop in. Probably LinkedIn is where I read content the most and occasionally share things out.
Mhm. Yeah, I try to check all the things, but definitely let us know what you're using because I want to make sure I see all the things and we can highlight all your awesome stuff here.
Well, I did not know that X got blocked in Brazil for any period of time.
Me neither.
So it looks like Blue Sky has got a couple of votes. Pedro's on Blue Sky.
Yeah. I came across this thread. I don't know what it's called on Blue Sky. This post about the .NET MAUI community on Blue Sky, and I don't know if I got added yet. I tried to join, but
Oh, okay. So they have communities, and you can join a community that is focused on your
yeah, or starter
community.
pack. It's called a starter pack. So you can see.
Starter pack to me sounds like if you join the starter pack, you are immediately following everybody that's in it.
Oh yeah, you're right. I can follow all here.
Ah,
Follow you all.
we're turning into a Blue Sky training session.
Yep. And then we can see all the posts here of all the folks who are in the starter pack. Cool.
The more you know.
I also found this from Blue Sky. Marco Siccardi has this blog post on profiling Maui iOS apps and macOS apps, or iOS apps on macOS. So if you can't get enough of all the performance and profiling content from the .NET blog, and especially if you're curious about profiling on iOS, this is your place to go. We also have documentation, of course, like seeing how Marco approaches it with installing the various .NET tools and attaching to the device and profiling the app. It's definitely always helpful to see step by step with the screenshots and such. So check it out.
Nice.
Ooh, Javier, an AI. So Javier has been experimenting with an AI assistant with .NET MAUI, which I need to explore more of, but very cool stuff that he's been toying around with an assistant that can help you write UI tests, write unit tests. You can convert an image to XAML and all different sorts of things. So super cool stuff. Definitely check it out if you're interested in seeing what you can do with AI and what the future will bring. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, and as we're going to dive into more in a bit, we have the agent awakening. So this was announced earlier. Oh, last month? I guess technically it was announced last month, but I think it's pretty new to VS Code. It's still in VS Code Insiders. So if you use that, you can check out agent mode in the edits tab of GitHub Copilot and leverage all of the awesomeness there. But I'm not going to talk too much about it because we're going to show you it in action. And of course, if you can't get enough of what we're sharing today, James also has a full video on using GitHub Copilot agent mode to build a full .NET MAUI application, which is super cool. So he just goes into VS Code, uses GitHub Copilot in agent mode, and he doesn't, I don't think he ever even types really. He just talks, he uses the voiced input to just tell Copilot what he wants and ends up with a fully functioning MAUI app. This one is about his coffee. He tracks his coffee consumption, so you can see he adds like how much coffee he drank of a certain type, and then I think here, let me try to play. Yeah, and then you can see the stats for all of the coffee he's consumed in total. So super cool stuff, super neat, and fully built by Copilot. So
I wonder how many times he's built a coffee themed app, coffee consumption, coffee roasting.
it seems very up his alley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, I wanted to highlight the MVP Summit is coming up. I'm going to just refresh to make sure. Yeah, in 18 days, 20 hours, 30 minutes, and 3 seconds. So for the MVPs who are tuning in, we're excited to see you later this month.
And if you're not an MVP, but you think you ought to be, make sure that you find out what it takes to become an MVP. There is a submission process. You basically demonstrate all the cool things that you've been doing for the community, for your local community, for the larger community, for your company. Open source things maybe that you've contributed. Really, think of anything that you can point to. And then we get to see you at the MVP Summit. You can occasionally get product interactions with product teams, behind the scenes kind of NDA type stuff. Being an open source here, there's not a lot of NDA stuff. We try to do as much in the open as absolutely possible. Gonna be a boring summit.
Love it.
Really? So that means you're not going to corner me in a hallway? I am looking forward to it. We're all going to be there from the Maui team, Rachel, myself, Beth, and Chris, from the product PM side of the house. And some of our engineers that are in town will be there as well. So we always look forward to seeing folks and hearing the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the above, and just having fun together because, we're social beings.
Yeah. We miss y'all.
Cool. You got more? Is that it?
That's it. On to you.
My turn. Whoops.
We
We conflicted because we both clicked the screen at the same time. So I had a couple of community PRs that I wanted to highlight. There is some cool stuff happening, and then we'll get into some agent mode / Copilot stuff. So give me 10 minutes of this, and then we'll jump over there.
Wow.
So this is coming in .NET 10 Preview 2. And if you are one of those who wants to know where can I find out when I'm going to get this thing, what release is it going to be in, check the milestones. The milestones are up to date. So that's pretty sweet. I love that. Creates clarity. So this is basically a new property that's been added to the text-to-speech functionality. This is part of the Maui essentials. So you don't have to be using pure Maui. You can be using .NET for Android, .NET for iOS, Uno, et cetera, et cetera. And you can take advantage of text-to-speech and now with a rate parameter. So if you don't want to listen to me speaking on 1.0 speed, you can speed me up to 2.0 and I'll make even less sense.
Amazing.
And then another thing coming in Preview 2, support for modal types as popover. So popover is a thing that has been a thing for a while on these platforms. Whoops, I can't play a video. Refresh. Can I play the video now? There it is. So this will give you an idea of what a popover looks like. Everybody's like,
Ooh.
and this is a Catalyst video here, but that's essentially what you get.
Fancy.
This reminds me of one of my favorite statements. Once you pop, you just can't stop. It's from back in the web development early days when people started building everything as pop-ups. And then suddenly you had pop-up, 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 pop-up. It's like, chaos. So this is a platform specific. If you didn't know what this platform specific stuff is, there are some features that are specific to certain platforms and are not for all platforms. And this is one of those cases. And so you use syntax like this on iOS, could be on Android, could be on Windows. And there are a whole bunch of these for each platform to be able to very easily control certain things that are platform specific. So that's the approach with this. And this is a community contribution. So awesome. Ooh, from Scotland/France. Piers. Good job, Piers. Thank you very much for that. I actually, speaking of community contributions, as I looked over the last 30 days at community contributions, there are over like 110 PRs from the community that have been merged.
Incredible.
So there's fantastic momentum happening. Albi Rock has been all over performance and has been doing great work on, as you can see here, shadows, but on collection view and layouts in general. And single-handedly is becoming the performance champion of .NET MAUI as a community contributor, which is just crazy good. So we really, really appreciate this. And in particular, this is a nice improvement for shadows. So if you have been running your app on Android and the first thing you do to make it run fast is remove all your shadows, maybe turn the shadows back on with this release and see how it is. If this is in SR4 for .NET 9, which is out now. So it's 9.0.40. You can check that out. Steven, good buddy from the Netherlands, who I think I will see in London next week. Maybe, I hope, because he's one of the organizers for Maui Day, but he also has little kids, so maybe he won't be there. But this is this PR and this PR both add new CSS support for different aspects. So if you didn't know, this is your wake-up call. Maui supports CSS for styling in XAML or in C#, basically any controls. And so it supports it's real CSS. It's not pseudo CSS, and it has the ability to do custom Maui properties that are not default spec W3C whatever properties. So you can do kind of like vendor specific things as well. But Steven here has added shadow support, which I think is awesome. And not only for CSS, but you get this in .NET 10 Preview 2.
Ooh.
So, and maybe it's in SR5 too, but I just put it in the release notes for .NET 10 Preview 2. So this is really nice. And there's actually like 3 different ways that you can specify the shadows, but all shorthand, super convenient. I love doing this sort of thing. I honestly, I don't use shadows very much, A, for performance reasons, but B, because it's a lot of XAML, because you weren't previously able to do it like this. But now maybe I will. I'll give it a look. So yeah, cool. And then on the border as well. I love this because I do a lot of my development on the Mac. And so Mac Catalyst is often where I run first before I go to mobile platforms. It's just a very nice, fast loop for developing. And I use a file picker. And for quite a while, file picker was had some issues on Mac Catalyst that didn't really get prioritized. Why didn't it get prioritized? Because Catalyst is really the least used platform among all the platforms. So if we were going to work on an issue, Android and then Windows and iOS were going to rank much higher. So it didn't get a lot of love. Now, Marty IX, the 9th Marty of all the Martys, has contributed a wonderful re-implementation of a new API for File Picker on iOS and Mac Catalyst. And it works. So if you've been bothered by that, go check it out. Good news is there are still several NuGet packages out there that also fill in some gaps on file picker things. So community is still quite useful there. Pedro continues work. Pedro, I think I highlighted you last time, if I remember correctly, on this as well, but improving the debug experience so that you can see more and more stuff in the debug output. In this case, the ability to pop out the raw view and see a bunch of shell properties that you couldn't see before. So that is rad. Do you know the word rad, Rachel? Did you ever watch the movie Rad?
I'm familiar with rad as a term, but not the movie.
In the chat, if you've ever watched the movie Rad, let me know. Tell everybody what it's about.
Okay. You know who says rad a lot? I
Hmm.
think James does.
Yeah, he probably does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right.
I think
Marty IX, also Marty, the ninth of his kind, of his name, has submitted this wonderful Windows optimization for formatted labels. So if you like to use formatted strings, then this is going to be a really nice win, because I also have done this, and I like to use formatted strings for some things. So you can have one label as opposed to like 10 labels. But performance has been a concern on some platforms. Now Windows has gotten some love, so that's a great one. And then finally, last but not least, let's transition into some demo time. I'm not seeing anybody talking about what rad is. Come on, folks. Here's a hint. All right. And Rachel's like, I don't know what BMX is.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I don't care. All right.
All right. Let's move on.
So let's talk about Copilot and some of the new things that have been coming out. Whoops, I scrolled away from it like a madman. All right, let's go first here. So as Rachel mentioned in the other blog post from GitHub, this is the Visual Studio Code one. So this is Visual Studio's, GitHub Copilot agent mode. And there was a question in the chat from early on, and I believe it was this one. Is there any information on when Copilot will get functions similar to Cursor, like executing external functions? So I think that's going to be what they call tool calling. But there are some really nice things that you can do with your prompts to get it to basically have different points in time when it will stop, and it can execute code. It can execute command line commands, as well as when it supports tools, it can execute specific code that you're going to do. So some of that stuff is still to come. Some of it you can do now. And I would say kind of the theme of all things Copilot and AI across the board is what you knew to be true last week is probably not true this week. And there's always new stuff coming. So, we've got the cursors, we've got, I guess, windsurf is a thing. Wasn't one that had hit my radar, but all kinds of different things that you can do. And I think this is a great comment right here. Can agent mode take over this task, that task, this task, that task? I would say probably agent mode and or AI can't take over a lot of tasks, but it can be super useful to do 90% of the work in a lot of cases. I don't know that there are many tasks that it can do completely that's not going to require some level of intervention and collaboration on the developer's part or on the user's part. Would you say that's kind of true to your experience, Rachel?
Sorry, I needed to unmute. Yeah, absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So let's take a look. I've got my Mac set up, which just went to sleep. So let me wake it back up.
Wake up.
Oh, why does it keep doing that? The first time I hit the first number of my pin, it like disagrees and goes to sleep. Am I not sharing my screen anymore? I don't think I'm sharing my screen.
You're sharing.
Well, I'm sharing that screen, but I want to share my Mac.
Oh, yeah. So you're
reshare because I went to sleep. Be good.
So you're
There.
David Max.
David Max.
I was like, who's David Max? Like, did you invite a guest I don't know about?
Because it's my M4 Max Pro Max. M4 Max, I guess, is the processor. It's not M4 Max Pro. All right. So first things first, to open up Copilot with agent mode, you're going to need to have the appropriate version of Visual Studio Code. I don't believe this has come to Visual Studio proper yet, but pretty much all this stuff is going to be in preview versions of things. So I have the int preview of VS Code that I'm running here, and I just have my default GitHub login. There are occasions when we talk about features, and in particular the prompt stuff that I'm going to talk about, where you need to go into the settings. So I just hit command, comma to open up the settings, and then you can start typing some word that will hopefully get you to this. And so this is one of the things that I'm going to show is the ability to use prompt files. So what a prompt file is that when I'm writing my prompt, I can selectively include additional markdown files that will provide the additional context that will help Copilot be successful. So a really good example for this of why you would want to do this, when you would want to do this, is like right here. So I've got this view model file. I just grabbed a file from another project and brought it into this repo. And I'll talk later about what this repo is and how you can check this out. But this is code that it generated for me earlier this week. So I had it build for me a .NET Health app, which I'm still working on. It's not worth looking at yet. But the idea for this app is that it's going to allow you to import health information from services or from PDFs that you have or text documents or whatever. And it will make sense of it and store it in a format that it can use and then provide you with insights. Basically, that's it. So when it created this app, when I finally worked through some of the errors, because what happens when you write a bunch of code, you try to run it, you get an error, you go try to solve that error, then that reveals 2 or 3 more errors, and then that reveals 2 or 3 more errors. Same thing with AI. So we AI and I got through this, Copilot and I got through this, got the app to run, and no window appeared. App was running, no errors, no crash, just no window. So I couldn't see anything. I'm like, what is going on? Clearly, there's something locking me up. And so then I finally figured it out. And it was in this code right here. So in the constructor for the view model for the very first page, it calls this asynchronous method to load, and it calls await. And so what happens, right? It's blocking everything. And so I maybe at some point it would have, I don't know, memory fail, whatever, and barfed and then crashed, but it didn't. And so it's like, well, this is all code that AI wrote. AI, I would have expected to know, and the model I was using was Claude. I would have expected to know what to do and to not do that, but it did it. Another example of where I have seen Copilot do things that I just don't prefer is it will use frame instead of border. And I don't want that. Or it will use stack layout where it could have used a grid, or stack layout where it could have used a vertical stack layout. Right. And so I prefer it to use other patterns. It's not that it didn't work. It compiled, it ran, but some of those things are deprecated. I don't want it to use it. So how can I provide that additional guidance to Copilot? So that's where these prompts come in. So up here in my project, within GitHub, I have a .github folder in my solution. And I can provide it with additional context about these things. So for example, here in the, let me close the Copilot edits real quick so you can see everything. So I've got some basic page lifecycle information. When you're using page lifecycles, I want it to use event to command behaviors from the community toolkit. My preference. It's not a fast rule, but this is something that I put in here rather than putting things in the code behind. And so the reason I did this is because I noticed Copilot did a bunch of stuff in the code behind that I preferred it would have done here. So by providing this insight, the next time that I gave it the same prompt, it did it the way I wanted it to, right? Bunch of control choices. Prefer grid over other layouts to keep it flatter. Use vertical stack, horizontal stack instead of stack. Use collection view or bindable layout, not list view, table view. And I might provide more context here. Like if you're going to have more than 20 items, use a collection view. Otherwise, use a bindable layout inside of a scroll container. I might provide more of that kind of information to guide it. But by doing it this way, I can kind of continually build good context so that Copilot can be successful. I've got one here for memory leaks, which is a document that is actually currently up on our GitHub on the Maui repo that provides some information on how to identify and how to address potential circular references to creating memory leaks. And then we've also got this one here, which is the one that I created after I saw what Copilot did and saw that it did this deadlock. So I went and I found a bunch of Learn documents, some good resources like Brandon Minnick's async await best practices, etc. And I copied that into text files. I fed it into ChatGPT actually and said, condense this down for me to a concise list of do's and don'ts for best practices for async await, right? And so it generated this, and I just took it as it was. Like I didn't do a bunch of work to it, and I put it in here. Now what I can do is I can utilize these prompts when I am doing things, but I don't want to have to include them. I don't want to have to remember because this is going to grow. I'm going to have dozens and dozens and dozens of these, right? So I have this one file, and I found this pattern on somebody else that had done this on GitHub. And I was like, I wonder if this actually works. This is the only prompt file that I'm going to provide to Copilot. And it will know, and you can read through the documentation on GitHub about this, but it will know based on these links that it can reference additional files. And it will only use these files when it needs to. You following me, Rachel? Tracking with me? So I took those files that I just went over and I created at least a little bit of information about them. And the instruction to Copilot is include these prompt instructions if the link's name is called. I don't know how specific I have to be on the link's name, but if I want to use async await, then that's what I can do. So let's give this a run. So I'm going to go back to Copilot edits. First thing, when you do want to use agent mode, and real quickly, the difference between agent mode and edit mode. Agent mode is going to do more of the experience of iterating repetitively over a task, okay? And you're going to end up in many cases with better results. So where edit is usually a one-shot, you ask it for something, it goes off and does something, and then it's done. This is going to do more complex things. In my case, like earlier this week, it created a whole app. I had to work through some bugs to get it to compile and run, but it'll create files, it'll run .NET NuGet add package type commands. It'll do all that sort of thing in agent mode. So I recommend you pick agent mode. And then you can pick from different models. I use Claude 3.7 Sonnet until I run into my limit because you get rate limited. And then I switched to another model because the rate limits are by model. So if you get rate limited, go to a different model. But essentially, what I want to do first is I want to use a prompt. Okay, I can create prompts from here. I created mine by hand in the code in the Explorer, but I can use a prompt, and I'm just going to tell it to use the prompts file. Right? I'm not going to tell it to go find any other files. And so now prompts file is included down here in my chat. And it's a little bookmark. It's not including it like it includes the current file. It's just a bookmark. But what I want this to do is review the current file for proper use of async await. Now, what's going to happen here is it's going to see that word async await. It included, you see up here, it knows about the other files, but which file is it actually going to use? It's going to read these files. Last time I did this, it told me it actually read the async await file. This time it didn't do that, so that's interesting. But it does identify that this is the problematic bit. And then, because I'm in agent mode, it doesn't stop there. It moves forward, right? And starts to do the work. And you can follow it doing the work over here. I dare not close that. It's pretty close to being done. I didn't want to do a more intense, like build a whole app demo, because if you watch James's video, I don't know how long James's video ended up being, but
yeah, it's pretty long.
If you were an early days Xamarin developer and you remember 15-minute, 30-minute build times, using Copilot kind of reminds me of that, but at least I know that I'm getting value during that time as opposed to just waiting. You can certainly multitask all this. And then you get a nice explanation for what all has happened, right? So let's see. In this case, it didn't actually fix the issue because I only asked it to review it. If I had told it to fix the issue, it would have gone ahead and fixed it, as you would expect. But this is really nice. Now, the other pro tip that I would give folks on using Copilot and probably any AI in general, if you have one agent, if you have one model write the code, maybe try having a different model review the code. You might find that that's a nice balance. But in general, just having it generate the code is probably one out of multiple steps. And one of those other steps is you should probably ask the model to also go and review what it just did, because when it has time to reflect back upon it, it will often find mistakes that it made and it will find improvements. Agent mode does a better job of that, whereas straight up edit mode would generate a lot of issues at first, and you would absolutely have to tell it to go back and check things again. But there's that. So let me switch over. We've got 5 minutes left, and let me show you one other thing that I've been doing in my Sentence Studio. Did I close Sentence Studio? Let's open a new window. New window. And let's open up Sentence Studio.
Is that what your app is called now?
My language learning app? That's what it's always been called.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So something that I did here. So I showed you prompts. Prompts, I would say, in the way that I'm using them, where you're kind of giving them a verb or some known keyword that's going to trigger the ability to include additional context in your prompt. Instructions is more like global preferences, I think. And you can read about the difference between these, but they work very similarly. I don't ever have to tell it to include Copilot instructions when I do something. But if you've ever seen me post about anything I've done and you're like, why is AI talking to you like a pirate? It's because I put that at the top of my instructions. And now no matter what I do, I don't know what to even ask it. Oh, by the way, did you know you can do this too? You can just use up and down arrows to go back and forth between what you've written. Did you know
Oh,
that?
really? So kind of
Yeah.
like a terminal.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Stop pressing buttons. So I don't know. Let me go to a file here. Pages.
I like thinking of Copilot edits with agent mode as a sort of terminal, but that explains more things to you on the fly in addition to running commands and fixing things for you. So it's pretty cool.
So in this case, I'm just going to ask it to explain the page to me. One thing about agent mode, and in particular the newer models that are like more of the deep thinking models, they do take a bit longer. So interestingly, this does happen sometimes too. And so you'll notice that it's not talking to me like a pirate. Why not? Is it because I am not directly in the source folder?
Is it?
Let's try
Does it
that.
apply to edits mode also? Not just chat?
Agent mode as opposed to the other one? Yeah,
Your
I think so.
instructions, I mean.
So this is the last pro tip that I'll leave for you while I'm trying to get my pirate to talk to me. Is yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go into this folder. Nah. Is when it comes to these things, you're better off just trying it. Just do the crazy thing that you're wondering if it can do. Because pretty much nobody's going to have a good answer for you or a solid answer. You ask me, can Copilot do XYZ? Can AI do XYZ? I don't know, go try. Go see what happens. That's kind of the mentality I think that is most productive for us right now in this revolution. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a talking head pundit. I don't know what we're in. But what I do know is that I've really been enjoying writing code with all of this.
Yeah.
And building apps. No, not that. Explain this file to me. Will it include?
Oh wait, it did it in the last. If you scroll up, I see
Oh,
the
yeah,
header.
it's doing it back here. Would you like me to explain any part in more detail, Captain? So there you go. Were there any questions while I was waxing eloquent about this that we should include?
There's a question here about if using these prompt files is different from using
Yes.
Copilot instructions emptying the GitHub folder.
Yeah, so the Copilot instructions is meant to be like it's going to be included in every single thing. It's more of your preferences for that particular project. Whereas the prompt instructions are more for, scope it to a particular task or domain of knowledge and then use the keywords to include it. You can include those files explicitly, like you could attach that file if you know you're going to be talking to it about MVVM and you've got a prompt instruction markdown file that's full of MVVM knowledge. And you know you're going to ask it an MVVM question, you could include that specifically. But if you do the prompts.prompt MD like I did and just use MVVM as the trigger word, then it will know to include that file when you're talking about it. Otherwise, it won't. And so that's the difference. Whereas Copilot instructions, it's always going to include it. And you could there's certainly overlap with both of these. I would love to see prompt instructions be something that could be done globally for you as a user on your machine or on your account, like attach it to my GitHub, because I want to use it everywhere, right? Like that stuff is super portable, in my opinion, across projects. Stop sharing screen.
Oh.
Remove. Yeah, so I would say use both and, play around with how they work best for you. Like I'm iterating on my stuff as I go. It's always changing. It's kind of like when we first learned how to use snippets back in the day. And then now, what was it? We used to call it IntelliCode. And now just GitHub Copilot, completions kind of does all that for you. So you don't even need to write your own snippets for stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Try all the things. You'll find yourself quite surprised as we've been.
And share them with us, please, 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 please. So in the URL that I shared out for the month, this one, the last URL in it is the repo where I have the these prompt instructions that I've been writing up. I would love for us to, especially stuff that's specific to Maui, but as you're working with Copilot and or any other AI and you're like, hey, this additional context would really help it to be more successful more regularly. And it's something that everybody should really know. Not that it's your personal preference. It's not tabs versus spaces. You put tabs versus spaces in the Copilot instructions or in your whatever your formatting tool of choices, right? Like that kind of thing. But if it's, hey, this is a Maui best practice that I think everybody should be adhering to, and I'm not going to have a bunch of arguing about it, contribute that to my repo, and let's kind of turn this into something more useful for everybody, please. because you're on the front lines. You people watching, you're on the front lines. You know how to write good code. All right, I'm done.
Amazing. I think that's all we have time for. Thanks for showing us, Dave.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being our guest speaker today.
All right, I'm going to try to end this thing properly with outro music and everything. Free version of Copilot. This I don't think is available. Well, I think it's available free, but I don't think that it's in public. You know, you have to go to the preview versions of everything. So get to the preview versions of all the things, and you should see all of this. The links to my repo is a 404. Did I just like not type it properly or something? All right, before I leave, let me go find this real quick.
Lots of live demo troubleshooting today.
Oops. That's it. Repos. You can also just go to my thing and look for the... All right, here is the repo. Thank you for asking. And I will go double check the URL list, what's included there. Cool. Well, we'll be coming to you with a wrap up from the London Maui Day in April. And we're looking to be talking about Onyx and Microsoft extensions for AI next month. So that's kind of the topic we have in mind right now. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you want to know how you can do all this cool AI things in your app on mobile devices without any cloud bits, or how you can do both at the same time, then that's going to be the session for you to come check out. First Thursday of every month, 10 o'clock Pacific time, right here.
Whoa.
Cool. Well, love it. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.